after a very long time, and you're watching Psychology 101. And today I'm going to just continue where we left off. So we left off at talking about research for medical students and talking about finding mentors and finding the right topics. Today I'm going to talk about what are the processes that you have to go through when you have to complete a research, and what is the most important thing. So let's get straight into it. The first thing that really comes to mind is you have to make a proposal. If you've selected a mentor, you finalize a topic, the next thing is making a proposal to an IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board. What does it do? It usually looks through your methodology, looks through what kind of things you're using. Are you doing an experiment on human beings? Is it going to harm them? Or are you spending a lot of the institution's money into something that probably will not give you any gain? So their whole, it's a board of people who have done a ton of research, and sometimes they're just administrative, but they have the power to make decisions, and they give funds. So they actually make decisions whether your proposal and your topic is good enough, and whether it will give you some decent amount of data which will be important for folks in the world or in the community. The other thing they tell you is that you have to go through certain regulations before you end up doing this project. So they would guide you towards that too. Some institutional review boards are very chill about these projects and give you a lot of freedom to choose what you want to do, and some of them are a little more conservative, and they will kind of be inclined towards doing such projects that will not be too risky or will not involve a lot of money. Having said that, my experience with the Institutional Review Board of my medical school was really bad, because the very first proposal I ever made in my life had to go through like 3 rounds or 4 rounds of Institutional Review Board meetings, which were almost like 1.5 months apart, and I had to present in a certain manner to convince them. And every time there will be an error, that maybe your sample size is not good enough, maybe the questionnaire is not good enough, or this or that. How will you take out time from your busy schedule to get this done? And all that jazz. So anyways, but that kind of got done. My advice to anyone who's getting a proposal towards the IRB is to first discuss it thoroughly with your mentor. Make sure that it's simple, easy to understand. The presentation is very professional, which is like black and white, and a good font. Really, it really matters what kind of a font you have, believe it or not. So the very first, the headings or the subheadings should be like about 32 to 34 font size, and the main body of your slide should be about like 24 to 26. Other than that, it should be black and white, and rather than having fancy slide backgrounds, have just a plain black and white Times New Roman 12 font size and a double spacing in your paragraphs. Make it bullet points, and do not have very detailed information in one slide. Just have like few, about 3 to 5 points in one slide, which kind of explains the gist of that slide. The next thing that you end up doing is, after receiving a proposal, is you start the whole process. So you need to understand, okay, here are my methods, and these are the results I'm getting. Always make an Excel sheet of your results that you're going to note down from day-to-day basis. If it's if you have to take data on a daily basis, then you might have to make sure that you're entering the data at some places. Because I had a very lengthy project, I did face that difficulty because I was not entering data on a regular basis, and at the end of it, I had a huge amount of data that I had to enter together. So don't do that. Try to enter everything, make sure everything is at one place so that you can take care of it at the end of it. The next most important thing is, after your data is kind of concise into 1 or 2 Excel sheets, you have to find somebody to get it analyzed. So who are the right people who you should ask? Ask your mentor, because they would have worked with a couple of statisticians who would be good at what they do. Next, you should ask statisticians you know by yourself. Most of the times it's the community medicine folks, because they're really good at statistics and they understand medicine. You could also choose people from biostatistics, like specifically biostatistics. It would happen that they will not have a very great, medical knowledge or medical background. So always trying to find people who have like an overlap of both. The next thing that's important is to use the right software for data analysis. One of the most important and I would say like very relevant softwares is SPSS, which is it's like a whole software on its own, where it gives you an option of running these logistic regressions, multiple logistic regression on the data. If it's like a huge amount of data, it lets you run these complex programs. What happened with me was that I did not have enough time to get it done by somebody else, because everybody will have their own pace of doing their work, and I did not have that amount of time. So what I did was I tried to learn SPSS by myself and tried to administer the data, the results and the programs on the data by myself. So that took me a lot of time to even understand what it was, but it kind of got done, because there will be like a couple programs, like a couple YouTube videos, and like basic statistics that if you go through that, it should not be a very big problem. If your data is simple, then you just need to know how to run the SPSS software. Use the latest software, by the way, guys, because that can mess up a lot of things. You will have so many new updates in the newer software, so go for that one. After analyzing, after results, what do you have to do? First, you go by what is the relevance of your research and what is the perfect journal for that. Who's going to tell you? Your mentor is going to tell you. When your mentor tells you that these are the different journals where you can publish, then go by them, because he would have, or he or she would have great knowledge of that. But sometimes they don't have enough time to actually look through your paper and look through what are the perfect journals. So what you have to do is find journals, find the keywords in your paper, and understand, like, if it's a pediatric group based research, go for these pediatric journals. If it's a neurology based, then you have to go for neurology based journals. And look through the description of that journal. It usually tells you that hey, we publish editorials, we publish original research, all that jazz, and like what kind of original research they publish, whether they want like more molecular basis of research or community based research, or stuff like that. So you have to go through the descriptions and understand what kind of papers they might want to accept. And the most important thing that people do not know are the impact factors. Every journal has an impact factor. What does that mean? It means that how many sites, it's like a score that's given to a journal to determine that this is a more influential journal in this field versus this one. Somebody has a 9 impact factor, that means it's amazing. Why? Because it's the papers that it publishes has a lot of relevance in the academic world, which also means or translates to the fact that it will have a lot of citations. Sorry for like throwing these big words on your face, but what are citations? Citations are basically like at the end of your paper, when you write references, you are giving reference to another paper from where you found some other data that was relevant to your own paper. For example, if you wanted to write about mangoes and you found a lot of data considering the variety of mangoes that were found in summer, and you wanted to talk about marketing but you couldn't run that research, then you will just mention it in your paper and you will refer to that paper which mentioned about the marketing of mangoes. Does that make sense? So that's how citation works, and the more your article is cited in different papers, that means it's a good research, and it is of importance to a lot of other researchers in that academic community. Okay, now once you've always aim for higher and relevance. So if you have a high impact factor and it's a relevant journal, go ahead and publish it. Now the other problem that everybody faces, you cannot really send your papers to different journals together. I mean, I would have preferred so much to publish it and to send it across to different journals and have them give a reply wherever you say accepted, so that you can kind of negotiate with whichever one you want to be accepted at. Phew! After all this jazz, once you selected the journal, you have to write the paper. Usually an original research kind of fits into a 2,000 to 3,000 word format, and it is pretty lengthy. So it does depend on it, how many figures and tables you have. Phew, and that was it that I wanted to talk about today, like writing the paper and everything, and I can always talk about more later on. So for now, I will take your leave. Have a great time, and I'm sure that you will. So till then, bye.